Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the second community panel in a series of 3 panels. Last Thursday, we had the privilege and honor of listening to student voice and listening to their perspectives on learning during COVID-19. Tonight, we have the extreme pleasure of being able to listen to our parents, our guardians, our caregivers of our students about parenting during COVID-19. So we are Teach Plus Nevada, and we are fortunate enough to partner with Nevada PTA and Nevada Succeeds and Opportunity 180 to be able to bring these series of community panels to you over these 2 weeks. So without further ado, Miss Rebecca Garcia with Nevada PTA is going to be our moderator, and I pass it off on to you for this exciting evening.
Thanks so much, Jen. I'm really looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have tonight. My name is Rebecca Garcia, and I'm the president of Nevada PTA. I'm also a mom of 4. My youngest kids are now elementary and middle school students, and they attend in the Clark County School District here in Southern Nevada. And tonight I'm joined with parents from all across our state, which I'm really excited about because that's going to give us a different perspective, because there's been a lot of different things depending on what district your kid has attended school in this year. And so we're going to go around and do introductions, and I'd just like everybody to take a moment to introduce yourself, where you're from, the district your kids are in, the age, grade level of your students, and then also what model have your kids been attending school. I know here in Clark County, the last time my kids were in a school building was March 13th, and have been all distance since then. And so that's what we've been navigating. But thank you for joining us tonight and sharing your perspective with those who are watching. And we appreciate the opportunity to partner with the Teach Plus Fellows and also Nevada Succeeds in these panels. I'll go ahead and start with Natasha, if you'd introduce yourself first.
Okay, so good evening. My name is Natasha Mosby. I am a parent of 3. All 3 of my kiddos are in the Clark County School District. I have a senior that's graduating this year, a 5th grader and a 1st grader. Same situation, the last time my kids seen a physical building was March 13th. So in addition to being a parent, I'm also a licensed clinical social worker here in Nevada, Clark County, and I do have a small private practice. And I'm also a teacher at UNLV School of Social Work.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Natasha. You also forgot, you used to be a PTA president at Priest Elementary. I have to give that shout out.
Yes, yes. Good times.
And then next we'll go to Tashina.
Good evening. My name is Tashina Mix. I am a member of the Walker River Paiute tribe out of Schurz, Nevada, and a descendant of the Washoe tribe of Nevada and California. I am a community member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation in Nixon, Nevada. I have 2 sons who attend Natchez Elementary in our Washoe County School District. They're in 1st and 3rd grade. And we were doing distance learning from March 13th until December 2nd. We actually just started them back in person just last week.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'll go to Lucy Pope next.
Hello, my name is Lucy Pope. I am here in Spring Creek, Nevada, at the very north of the state. We're really cold here. I have 2 boys in school age, one 4th grader and a 1st grader, and a toddler on top of that. Right now, we are doing a hybrid model for the schooling, but we were on total distance learning since March until November 9th. So this week we returned 1 month old in the school building, and we're just getting there.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Lucy. And Dennis Davis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dennis. I have 3 kids who live in Fernley. My 3 go to the Lyon County School District. I have a fourth grader, fifth grader, and a senior in high school. And all three of them kind of do something different. We started off the fall in-person learning. My oldest two are in a cohort, so they do 1 week on, 1 week off, and my youngest actually goes full time.
Thank you. And Karen.
Good evening. My name is Karen Johnson, and I am a grandmother of 7. But what I'm Clark County. My grandson, that is the one that's here in Las Vegas with me, he attends a charter school, and they were out, March 13th about that time, but just went back hybrid, a half day, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And so that's what we're doing right now. It's a hybrid model.
Great. Thank you all. What do you think? I wanted to start with kind of a big question, and I hope that everybody feels comfortable participating. Feel free to jump in if you want to add something. But what do you feel are the most pressing needs your family is facing? Where is there currently effective collaboration around those needs? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Tashina.
Okay. Our most pressing needs that we came across was their motivation. It was very hard to keep that going while they were distance learning. My youngest, he was online 1.5 hours twice a day, but he was getting so burnt out. We had to call his class early, give him little breaks. My oldest started just not wanting to attend school anymore. He was beginning to hate it. And that was worrying my husband and I, because they're too young to be discouraged from school right now. This is the most exciting time. And, we would tell them things like that. But I think motivation was huge. And then as time went on, I could see a decrease or more academic struggles with them. And as hard as my husband and I worked, it just felt like we were definitely missing something. I and my husband contacted our sons' teachers, and we were able to share with them our frustration, how we're feeling. They too are parents and they understand it. So that was really nice to have that support. We also were able to brainstorm ideas on how to break up the work a little bit between online work and packet work. And I think that helped a lot. And then just having that support, it was a huge relief. I called the principal, I called their teachers, almost to tears because I was so frustrated. So it was nice that they answered, that they responded, and that they heard me.
Yeah, my youngest is a 4th grader, and I can definitely share in that understanding of that motivation and keeping on track, and hearing that so much from different people. So definitely can see where that's coming from. And it's great to hear that you got that response when you reached out for help, because I think that's what's key. And so Lucy, let's go to you next.
My experience was a little different because my son tends to get anxious during the year. So I kind of expected something coming in that field. So I prepared myself a little bit as soon as we get the call. Hey, there's not going to be classes in person. We're going to move everything online. So I was open with the school. This is what I think we're going to be needing. I prepared the counselor of the school. Hey, what can I do? How can I prepare myself to fight these battles that I see coming from him? He has a hard time focusing as it is. So maybe at the house, things are going to get worse. So I expected a really bad scenario, but I was impressed that he adapted perfectly fine, and he really started enjoying the the distance learning. His teachers were amazing. They had everything set up with a routine, and I think that was a big difference for us. Keeping with a routine, even though they didn't go to school, I set up alarms for them, both of them. I have them wake up earlier to have breakfast, to have a shower, to wake up, and they were like, why are we doing this? We're not going to school. So I kind of kept it like as a respect for your teachers that are putting their best work into it. You're gonna do the same. And so the first couple of days was a fight, but I think they really appreciated that part, that still having a different routine, but still a routine to follow up. And I'm blessed enough to stay home, and so I could keep an eye on them, and I could catch those days of low mood where they didn't want to cooperate too much. So I can honestly say I had a lot of support from the school, but I took the time to ask for it. Sometimes as parents, we think we have to come up with all the answers, but we have resources, and the teachers that's what they do. They know how to approach those things. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do this by myself. I'm gonna ask for help, and I got it too. So I'm glad I did. And so it was hard, but it worked well enough for the first part of it. And now that we're in hybrid, I think it serves as a motivation for the kids to, okay, I need to follow this guidelines, or I'm going to lose those 3 hours I have with my teachers and away from mom.
Yeah, that's good. And especially pointing out that you asked for the help, like you saw what might happen and you reached out to get that feedback and that support. I think that's really important. Dennis, how about you, especially having high schoolers and elementary? Same kind of with you, Natasha, when it comes to you, like that difference of the older kids versus the younger kids. What have you seen as those pressing needs, and where have you found that collaboration?
Well, even though they're different ages, they still, all three have the issue with motivation. Definitely the high schooler. She's told me that she actually learns better at school because there's fewer distractions. And then being in cohort A, cohort B, and Lyon County even gave the option for fully distance learning. So all the same kids from the same age group are actually doing different things. So that's been confusing. One thing that I found was helpful was to get them out of their bedroom, do their homework in the dining room, set up a workstation, and that building a routine was key. And we just now got into a really good groove where we can get all the work done daily and keep them motivated and kind of excited about what the day has for them.
Yeah. And it has taken a while. Let's go to Natasha and then Karen.
All right. I would say for me, from March to May, I think we were all trying to figure out what just happened, right? So especially for our kindergartner, she's in first grade now, but for her, it was really challenging because she is my extrovert child. She loves being at school. She was missing her teacher, and picking up those packets was very overwhelming for her. So reaching out to her kindergarten teacher saying, hey, what can we do to kind of limit some of this work? Because she had a packet every single day, like maybe about 10 pages plus a weekend packet. So I kind of had to make some executive decisions about what can I cut down, what things was good for her mental health, right, to keep her balanced. For our 11th grader, who's now a senior, I didn't have much resistance with him. He just went right into, well, this is what I have to do, because guess what, I'm graduating and I'm getting out of here. So that was not a challenge there, but definitely for our littlest one, getting her on some type of routine was a challenge. So what we decided to do, soon as summer hit, we all sat down as a family and said, okay, we got to think of a plan because we're not going back. So I think it was so important for us, just for our family unit, to include our kids in their expectations about what did learning look like for them. right? So I do know all three of my kids, they enjoy the interaction in the school, they enjoy their peers. So trying to keep them involved as much as possible over that summer break, talking to their peers, whether it was virtual, having opportunities to meet their teachers was so important during that break before we started back, having the virtual open house. So everything I could do to kind of keep them connected to the school system was important. Same thing with me, Dennis. We talked over the summer about learning in the home. I knew being in the bedrooms was not going to be a place where we could be productive because that didn't work in March and April and May. So one side of our house we set up for only school, and purposely just making it a space where we go in there, we do school and we leave, right? So it's not constantly, okay, I have to be in school. So setting up a workstation we put together. Also lunch breaks. I realized they work up there very structured. So when it comes to lunch, I purposely said, let's get up from our desk and let's go outside to eat. Let's take a walk to eat. So just trying to break up their day a little bit has been very helpful. So far, we've been operating smoothly with a few hiccups in terms of technology, computers kind of having some glitches. But even in those moments, right, we've been talking about, hey, we have to be patient, right? We have to have a little grace with this. We're all trying to figure it out. So just kind of giving them an opportunity to kind of share their how their week has been going has been helpful. So we have family meetings on Friday, and now we moved it to every other week because they tend to get the hang of it. But I like to check in and see how they're doing, right? What's working, what's not working. Our fifth grader, she is pretty, she likes to operate on her own. So there's moments when she's taking her test, I will say, okay, Taylor, take your computer, go in your room, just to kind of eliminate some of the distractions. So checking in a lot has been key. And we have some amazing teachers. I have to give it to Clark County. We have some amazing teachers this year that's been really good with sending out emails and how are the kids doing and if you need anything. So I really appreciate that.
As you were talking, one of the things that came to mind is how different each child is. And so a lot of times when you ask this question to parents, the answer is different because each of our kids kind of responds differently. And also, shout out to the family meeting and preparing everybody. That was, I did a Facebook Live last week with mental health experts, and that was a big tip that they provided to families, is to make sure that kids are on the page with you and know what the expectations are, especially in a year like this. So Karen, last but not least, definitely, what do you think have been the most pressing needs your family has faced? And have you been able to get collaboration?
My pressing needs, I would think, being having a child that's in resource or special needs has been a challenge because it's very, very hard for them. It's very hard for them to adapt. This was change came about in March. And so what we decided to do, myself and his mother, is that work through it, do the packets, do it, a little bit at a time, kind of, let them know that was it. And we started out we would do like a whole school day, like break it out. I had a schedule, 8 in the morning, you get up, you eat breakfast, 9 o'clock, you do this, and I had this whole schedule for him, but it just didn't work because he wasn't in school. So it was very stressful for him. So then we started just kind of doing bits and pieces. He could take a break here, get up anytime he wanted to. He just had to ask. And with that, I think that helped. And then also I kept him in summer school. They offered summer school via Zoom. So in order for him to get into that rhythm and stay into that, I had to keep him in summer school. So he went to summer school. And then when school started, they didn't start back. And then in November, you had a choice to say whether you want to go into class or stay at home. And I think it's better for him to go because it was like 3 hours at home was like, oh my God, it's 3 hours. And I'm thinking, you used to do 6, right? And so with him, it was just getting him into that mode and talking to him and just kind of just encouraging him. And that's just kind of daily conversation with him. And then just communicating with teachers of what the struggles are, because I am not a teacher. I've worked through this whole pandemic. I haven't had a day off, so I'm depending on other folks to assist us. His mother works at home and I work in office, so we're trying to maneuver that. But having the teachers having that conversation with them and having that two-way where they can text me, where they can call me, where they can email me and I can do the same. I think that has helped me as a grandparent to make sure that he's being successful. So I think just that collaboration and having that open communication really, really helps.
I think, like you said, the challenges of if you're working and where you're working, not that all parents don't work and caregivers work, because that's a lot of effort, whether you're getting paid or not, but does make a difference. I know my husband and I are both working virtually from home right now, and we have 3 kids learning from home. And, sometimes it's I need help. I'm in a call. I have a conference call. I have a Zoom, or is the internet going to work for all 5 of us to function at the same time? So there's those different complexities, right, that attach that. So the next question, I think, feeds really well into something a lot of you have touched on. And we know, and research repeatedly has shown, that family engagement is essential to student success. And obviously this year has shown that more than ever, because the school buildings have come into our homes, whether they're now or they were a few months ago. So what does effective family engagement look like for you? What does effective communication look and feel like for you? And Karen, I want to start with you so you don't have to wait for the, you get to go first this time.
Well, I think, what I think works for us at family engagement is that we have the opportunity to be able to speak to our teachers, and our teachers are open to help us. Like Lou said, she reached out to the teacher and said, hey, I can see this happening. This is going to can you give me some help? And then having those teachers being able to provide us with that, because we are not teachers, and we're parents, and we don't know the right thing to do. Like when normally we might do a timeout where they might say, hey, he might need to just take a 10-minute break. I mean, I don't know all of these things that they do in school that would help. So I think the engagement and that the teachers reaching out to us and making sure that we're okay, sending a note, how is he doing today, or sending me a note, he had a wonderful day today, coming up with some type of communication, I think, and keeping us up to date and engaged. And then us as parents, it's our responsibility also, not all of the teacher, that we need to reach out to the teachers. We can't depend on the teachers always reaching out to us, because they have 50 other kids, 30 other children that they have to tend to. So we need to advocate for our own children and reach out to those teachers also and say, hey, how did my child do this week? Or how did he do today? Or what I do is when I know he's having a rough day and I'm dropping him off, I will text the teacher and say, hey, just wanted to let you know, we had a rough morning this morning, just so you know. And so that seems to work. We have that open communication, and they're like, got you. And as soon as I started doing that, and as soon as we reached out and they're saying, got you, we know what to do. And the first thing when I drop him off in that car line is, how are you doing today? And they're like pumping him up, and he's like jumping out the car all excited. So I think that open dialogue right there really, really helps. And teaching and treating us, just having that open dialogue and having that respect for one another. I think that helps out.
Yeah, I think you brought some really great points out. As parents and family members, we know our kid better than most other people in the world, but we aren't necessarily educators or experts in the grade level, or heaven forbid, if I have to try to help my son do algebra, that's not going to work very well. I did it a long time ago. And so it's recognizing the strengths we each bring to that equation, right? And being willing to ask for help on both sides. Also, as you were talking, I thought about, one of the things I realized this year is for my middle school kids, especially, like they'd never met their teachers before, other than 1 or 2 of them. So it was like starting the year all online, blind. And I found that when I had chances to talk to their teachers and share more about my kid, that it helped me connect with the teacher, but also help the teacher know my child better and how to support my child. And so I think that was one of the things that was unique this year, that we didn't have those traditional, for a lot of us who are doing distance only, we didn't have a face-to-face opportunity. Tashina, why don't you go next?
I agree with Karen. Communication is key for sure. Another thing I would add is availability. It was nice to know I can text or call and I would get a response. And it wasn't immediate, and that's okay, but they would get back to me. And that was really appreciated, especially when we were having a rough day or hitting a little rough patch. So that, I think availability was huge.
And both of you have commented too about how often a text or a quick message is, and I can tell you as a parent, I'm in that boat too, is often easier for us, right, than another form of communication sometimes. Natasha, how about you?
Definitely want to piggyback off Karen and Tashina. Communication with all three, well, 2.5, I would say, of my kiddos were important. It's a little difficult with the high schooler, just because of the program he's in. However, I will say his teachers will send us random emails. How are things going? He's taken a lot of AP classes, so being able to stay in touch, how is he doing, right, has been important. I love the Google Classroom notes I get from my 5th grade teacher for our 5th grader. So it's helpful. I do a lot of work online. So, fortunately I'm home and I do teach from home. I do teach at a college level, but that's very different than teaching a 5th grader and a 1st grader. So I do agree with you, Karen, on that one. I was like, this is not my bag. So being able to just reach out to their teachers. I love they said if you have a question, text, email, so that open communication, knowing that we're partners. I'm like, okay, we're partners in this. And if something comes up, I know they're going to reach out to me. We had an incident beginning of the year where my 1st grader was just having a not too good of a day. So I did reach out to her 1st grade teacher and I said, hey, is it okay if we take a mental health day? Right. So she goes, take it. So we talked about that, but I did say, Trinity, we're going to come back and work on this over the weekend. So being kind of in tune what's going on, keeping the teachers, what's happening, has been so important. And my husband's a teacher as well. He teaches 7th grade. So there's moments that we are completely in our own classes and he's doing his thing. So when school first started, I kind of sent an email to all the teachers, let them know who we are. This is pretty much our schedule. So if something happens and we're not able to run to the front and help out with whatever that is, if you text me, we can put things on hold. So that has been so helpful because there's been moments they'll say, hey, they're going into their MAP testing, right? They need somebody to help them. So that's been helpful, having this open communication with the texting, quick little emails. So I do appreciate that.
Dennis, why don't you go next and then Lucy?
But recently I had to relearn how to divide by decimals, and YouTube was very helpful with that. We actually have the luxury of being on a hybrid model. So my kids go to school a week and then they're off a week. So I'm building a partnership with the teachers and knowing what to expect on their week off has been great. We know what we're going to do on Monday, and we do the work online, and we know what to expect. And then when they go back to school, if they have any pressing issues or questions, they can ask their teachers then. So that's, I guess Lyon County is a little bit special. It would be really hard if we were fully distant though.
Yeah. I think it is a much different equation when you don't have any of that in-person interaction. Lucy?
I try not to be too shy when I have questions and requests. I just give them my teachers and I call them my friends, because that's, if we give them the freedom to feel like they're part of the team, and we are part of the special education program here too with one of my sons, and I always refer to them as his team, and I always praise them too, because they have their back, and I trust them on that part. So I think that's a big deal if they feel appreciated. And I always make it clear, be totally honest with me. I want the best for my child, and I know you do too. So I trust that what you are saying to me it's for the well-being of my kids. So, and the same way, I try to make them feel like I have the confidence to come and say, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, how about this? Have you seen that? So when I open up and I feel and I have the confidence to trust them with a big part of my child's life, return that to me. So I feel pretty confident with the team that he has, and I try to motivate that trust in both ways. So texting has been amazing. Emails have been great. So I'm pretty spoiled with the openness that I have with both our teachers. Well, 3 teachers, because of special ed too. We couldn't have a better team for both my kids. So communication has been
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think that lends perfect question that we wanted to ask, because these community panels are being done in conjunction with Teach Plus and with Nevada Succeeds and the Nevada Parent Teacher Association. So we're looking at both sides of the equation, the family side and also the parent side. How are educators actively empowering and believing in families? And I think all of you touched on different little aspects already. But you know, we know that the more schools see parents as partners and not barriers, the better we will be able to collectively serve children. And again, Lucy, you kind of addressed this beautifully in your last statement, but for the rest of you, and I think I'll start with Dennis this time, how do you think you've seen educators empower families and give you a voice?
Well, first, one good thing that comes out of this year is increase in the family engagement. I think a lot of teachers, especially here in Lyon County, have reached out to us more than we would have before, and has followed the progress our child is making as they go along, and building the curriculum in partnership with the parents, saying, you know, we're going to do this, and then the next week you have to do this. So we contribute to their education.
I think this year has definitely brought parents into the curriculum process in a whole new way. I don't think in the past, even, you know, I would consider myself a pretty involved mom over the years. I've had a kid in school for 15 years now, because my oldest is almost 26, and she's my stepdaughter. And but the detail that we are able to see their assignments and what's due and how the progress is happening. And also, I think that's raised some questions for us too, right? As parents, I've heard from I didn't know my kid was supposed to know this in 2nd grade or 5th grade. And so I think you're right that sometimes we think about the relationship, and that's really important, but education also requires parents to understand what your child's learning, even if we aren't a teacher. Luce, did you want to add anything to that? And then I'll go to Karen next.
I think with everything that we saw coming our way and becoming ourselves a little bit of teachers, I think families found a new appreciation or deeper appreciation for the teaching process, I think. Because yes, we just drop them and make sure that homeworks are taken care of, but the every day from A to 3 and all the preparations that I saw coming from our teachers, and I couldn't thank them enough. So hopefully a lot of families saw that part of the teachers every day input in their kids' lives, and they start thinking a little more, how can it be easier on my expectations from school? Because we probably made a mistake to yes, be present, but in another level, not so much involved in that everyday learning. So I gave for granted a lot of what the teachers do on a daily basis and the level of patience that they have. So now I personally respect them even more. So that also motivates me on my part as PTA president. How can I make you guys feel appreciated at the level that you deserve? And how can we create that bridge in between the families and the teachers to say, hey, yes, you worked so hard for my kid. I have your back. So it was a new level of understanding for me of what the teachers have to put in my kids' life on an everyday basis, and another level of motivation to do better as a PTA member.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Karen, I'll go to you next.
You know, I was sitting here thinking, so empowering us as parents, is that what you're saying, asking the question?
Right. How are educators actively empowering and believing in families?
Well, I think just one example for, I was speaking to another parent, and they did not, the Zoom was not something that they wanted to do. They felt that it was like an invasion of privacy. They don't know how to do the private, you know, and so with the school, they want your child on camera. Your child has to be on camera, or they would like it. So in reaching out to that parent and talking, like I said, it's all about that communication. So going back around, I know every question we've asked, we probably put communication, but it's very important. But what they did is they shared with that parent that, you know what, we can do like a filter. So it filters out the background. So all we see is your child, you know, so we know your child's on there. So they empowered, you know, giving suggestions and empowering us to make the right decisions for our kid. And that's what it's all about, is that giving us the tools that we need to help our children be successful. So empowering us and believing in us as parents and being a partner and helping us, I think has been a great asset for me with my grandson, because with, you know, having a child special needs and or in the resource, and I'm sure there's other parents could maybe be able to relate to this, is that it's very, very hard for these children to adapt. And so for us to have the voice that we can come to that teacher and say, hey, this is what I see that's happening. And they're saying, okay, maybe, you know, like this, can we try this? And they're taking that and saying, yeah, we could try that. Let's try that. I do this at home and it seems to work. Can we try this at school? Right. And empowering us to have a voice and speak to them, and taking our input and having it work and try it out. I think that's the best thing that helps, that's been helping me in parts of that. I feel that's how they're empowering me to have my voice and to be able to have a part in how my grandson is educated.
That real authentic two-way communication, that it's both sides
right.
coming back and forth. I know I've seen that a lot. I have a child who really struggles with distance learning, and she has some, she has a 504 and needs some extra support, and a lot of it just doesn't work in an online environment. So it's been a rough 8 months, 9 months. But honestly, the biggest breath I took was when she got her teacher assignment for 4th grade. It was a teacher I knew really well. And so from the beginning, that teacher was like, what do you think's gonna work? How can I help? And tell me if it's working or if it's not. Like, and she would follow up on that. And that was huge for me, that she wanted my input on what was or wasn't working, or what needed to be adapted. Even if it was just, sometimes it was in general, and sometimes it was really specific to my daughter. And that really is the reason my child's probably still enrolled in public school this year. Because otherwise, I'm not sure that would work for her if the teacher wasn't so willing to be a partner and recognize, because it is, you know, kids are so different, and especially distance learning doesn't work for all kids well, especially young ones or those who have special needs. And so it's true, that partnership is more important than ever. Natasha, and then I can't remember, Tashina, if you've answered this one already or not. So if you haven't, you're next. Sorry.
Absolutely, the partnership. one thing I've listened to late, I've heard my fifth grader log in a little early for class. And I was like, Taylor, it's not time yet. But what I enjoy, her teacher logs in early to kind of give them this platform just to kind of check in. How's your morning going? What did you do yesterday? And if you know me, I'm huge on children's mental health, right? That's my specialty. That's my passion. So for her just to kind of check in that way, and I'm hearing Taylor share about her crafts that she's making, the other students are talking, I'm in the back like, yay, fifth grade. And the same thing with our first grader. I noticed her teacher will ask about their day. What did they do for the weekend? What are they enjoying? And even, she even tell the kiddos, hey, say good morning to each other. So, they got to show off their, even we're still staying with spirit weeks with certain things like holiday spirit weeks and checking in with parents. How are things going? Again, the email, the text messages, getting things like that. So, I feel engaged. I feel that we're partners, and I agree. I really feel that this year we've been blessed to have some teachers, and not just their main teachers, but even their specials, right? So their teachers that they're breaking out, going into their specials with. I've seen just this amazing engagement. The counselors at the schools. And this is, for me, I feel like I've been engaged in their learning process, but this year, just seeing their curriculum and what they're doing and being able to go into Canvas, ask questions about what does this look like, and having this feedback, because I realize a lot of our teachers have families too, right? So I'm with you, Luce, just to say, wow, look at the energy they're putting into our kiddos. And I make a point to just say thank you so much, because this is a lot. And I do appreciate all the hard work that our district is doing, and the collaboration, the phone calls, the text messages, because I do know that's taken away from their families to engage us. So that's so helpful. I was talking to another provider, and she was saying, oh my God, do you know that they're doing welfare checks on kids, right? Hey, I haven't seen you in class this week. How is he or she doing? So I think that's so powerful, looking at all the different, resources we're using to engage families, to engage the kids. And I appreciate that. I do. I really do.
Thank you. Tashina?
I agree with each lady that spoke. I think definitely having a voice and feeling empowered to share our voice with our teachers and our administration, I think that was huge, especially because they listened. It was nice to share our frustration, share the things we were seeing with our sons, and sitting together and saying, okay, well, what can we do about it? That teamwork it's definitely been developed since March. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I agree on all the hard work that they do. It is a lot of work. And gosh darn, I was going to say something else and I don't remember, but the taking the time to sit with our child. My oldest, his class ended. His teacher was just kind of chatting with him, and then the whole chat turned into a whole home tour. So my oldest is carrying her around, showing her everything. And I was like, are you okay with this? It's okay, we can go. She's like, no, I love it, I enjoy it. And I'm like, okay, and I looked at my husband like, wow, this is nice. Like, he gets to have this connection that he didn't get before, that he's missing from school. So I immediately messaged her afterward and thanked her very much, because that was huge. And that made him and my youngest feel so good. So I think just having that teamwork foundation being built is humongous.
One of the commonalities I heard in so many of the comments was when, as a family, you see an educator cares about your child individually and is putting forth an effort for your child to succeed, that makes such the foundation for that ability to have a partnership, right? Because ultimately that's what we as parents, we want our kid to succeed, and to be happy and to be comfortable. And when we see those efforts, that kind of opens the gate to being able to build on that in other ways. What do you think has been the toughest impact of the pandemic? So we've got people from all over the state with different learning models. So some of you have hybrid, some of you are distance only. but what do you think has been the toughest impact on your family? And what do you think could be done to change that? And I'm going to go to Dennis first and then to Sheena.
All right. Well, in some ways, I think we are all doing the very best that we possibly can, considering the circumstances. And I feel that way a lot. That being said, I wish we could move a little faster and get out of this. Even with the kids' schoolwork they're bringing home, I feel like we're not progressing fast enough, and especially with kids being on a hybrid model and some being fully distance learning. We're not all on the same page, and the learning is coming really, really, really slow. And I feel like, especially if we do an assignment a week, the next week, each child is on a different model, so we have to wait around. It takes 3-4 weeks to move past a lesson, it seems like. So I wish we could, if I had one wish, I wish we could build that partnership more and work on a curriculum on a week-by-week basis, or at least a monthly basis, and really follow along better with the schools and know where we're going next.
Yeah, that lack of consistency I hear from families all the time is, and I think it's frustrating for a lot of teachers as well, that it just makes things hard, especially those of us who have multiple kids in multiple grade levels. It's hard to keep track. Tashina.
I think it was difficult for us to distinguish a balance between home and school. They weren't allowed to really get away from school because it's all at home now. Me and Dad are now teachers, and on them about their homework, and you guys have to come and work at the table. And I think that was difficult for them. We did make it a point as much as we could to take our breaks, leave the house, go up and, go for a walk, go out in the hills. And that was big. But I think that was probably the hardest in our home, was trying to distinguish that. And it's not fun, being mom and teacher. I loved it at first. I loved being able to have a hand in both of my sons' educations. I always wanted that. We are engaged parents, but doing it day in, day out for as long as we were doing, it was very difficult. And I could tell with them, they're just getting burnt out. And I don't blame them, because we felt it too. And that's why we eventually made the call to take them back to in person, because they needed that break away from us, I think. And they also needed that interaction again. They've been there for a whole week now. They've been doing fantastic. They are excited to be there. And it's nice for us to take a break and be like, okay, we don't have to worry about that. We can focus on our work, because my husband works 10-hour days. I work from home, and it was hard managing that. So I think finding that balance was tough.
Yeah, I hear so often from family, and I feel it too. It's that everything all in one place all the time without the separation is overwhelming. Karen, what about you? What do you think has been the toughest impact for your family, and what do you think could be done to change that?
I think the toughest thing when we first started out was I think I'm good on computers, and I've been working on them for quite some time, right? But that Google Classroom, oh my goodness, that is a challenge for me. Still is. I still have a challenge with that. And so he would pick it up and he would do what he's supposed to do, but then I would want to check what he's doing. And so we would I did it, and I said, don't submit it till I see it. So it was like this big tug of war, right? So I'm not trying to be the teacher. And for a while, before he started going back, he was doing like night school, because during the day, I had no one to really make sure he was doing what he's supposed to do. So he would be in school, but then everything, as soon as he got off, I would come home at 5 o'clock, and then from 5 to like 8 or 9 o'clock, we would do whatever work he didn't do in class. So it was like he was going to night school. So that's what I told him. I said, Caden, you're in night school. I'm sorry, I said his name, but my grandson, he's in night school. But I think that was the hardest thing. But I think what helped me was just getting, like I said, talking to the teacher, reaching out to other families, other friends that have children, and reaching out to them to get that input. Show me how to do this. What's the quickest way? I have a few friends that are teachers, that are counselors. One of my sisters is a counselor, so I would reach out to her and say, hey, show me how to do this. Tell me what's the best way to do this. And just reaching out and communicating and just understanding that you're not alone, right? So the biggest thing is that you feel so frustrated that this is overwhelming. And as Dennis, you said, I'm ready for this to be over. I want them to go back to school 6 hours. I want to drop him off and pick him up at 3:30. I want to do all of that. And, but I think just giving us the grace to say it's okay to be frustrated, but also just making sure that, we're being consistent. And that, like I said, Dennis, there's no consistency. Sometimes I feel like he's doing the same thing every day. And then the next week, it's like, did we just do this assignment? It's like I'm seeing repetitive stuff. But I guess in school, if they in their 6 hours, they would do like, I show you how to do it. Let's do it. Reinforce it with homework. And so I feel like I'm doing the same thing. And I feel that he feels the same way. So he gets kind of frustrated. But I think that's our challenge, is the technology, learning that. And I'm thinking my part, what I did is try to reach out to other folks and trying to, come up with a solution for us that works for us.
So I hear a lot from families about the technology, especially if your district is using multiple programs and platforms, or different teachers are using different systems and platforms. Do you think that additional training on technology from the school at a broader level would have been helpful for you as a family member?
Yeah, I think so. I think there should have been some type of, even like in the summer, when the summer came, when they knew that they were going to be, hey, we're going to offer some training or some type of training classes for the parents, and it's, and do a Zoom training or something, because it was very challenging for me, and I still get lost on it. To me, some people are, they go, oh, I love it, but I just have a harder time with it. But I'm thinking if they would have had some type of training for parents to say, this is the platform we're going to be using, because first they started out with Zoom, and then someone told me, no, we're not doing Zoom. We're doing Google Meets, I think it was. That was hard. I couldn't get that to work. And then they went back to Zoom. So it was a change. I think just being consistent and where we're going to go. And I think they kind of figured it out now. But like I said, yeah, the training would have been a great help.
Yeah, especially because we are the tech support. I felt like I was tech support a lot in the beginning days of distance learning. Natasha, what would you say has been the toughest impact?
For me, it's a little different. My kids miss PTA events. So that's interesting. So being a former PTA president and being involved with PTA, we went to all the little PTA events and being able to engage with the community. So that was there. My little ones would say, oh yeah, this is a time this would be happening. Oh mom, we're not having this year. So I'm going to be honest, that was a little sad for me. So I had to kind of put on my creative hat, right? I had to tap into my little play stuff and say, okay, well, let's do some sensory play today. Let's do this. Let's see if such and such is available to do a Zoom meeting with us so we can do something together. So it was a socialization that they missed. So if I had it my way, I would try to say, can we do some PTA virtual events and invite families in where kids can see each other and kind of check in again, but I know we're busy. So it was that being able to create an environment that separated, like you said, Tanisha, home from school. And sometimes I would say, hey, let's go do homeschool for distance learning from mom's office today, right? So I would say, let's go to my office just to get them out of the house because I can see this burnout. And just kind of changing location as much as possible, but still trying to keep things consistent. So it was the socialization that they absolutely miss. And we did some supplement learning as well. So my kids are not having homework, so that was important for me to have some stuff on the weekend that we can supplement in terms of learning. But even the supplemental things that we're doing is not virtual. It's not on the computer. So really getting them away from the technology on the weekends has been important, and having them use their brains for critical thinking skills for other things, but trying to put in some play that they're learning that way.
Yeah. I know I have kids that socialization has just been, and missed activities and milestones. And I have a kid who missed her very first overnight field trip ever. And she's going to miss the second year of the overnight field trips. And she reminds me regularly that she'd been waiting for those her whole little life, and now those are gone. And it shows that kids value things differently. But as adults, we do too, right? How many of us are sad that we're missing family gatherings and celebrations and those types of things? So I think we can't forget how much the community aspect of school impacts kids as well. We are almost out of time. Lucy, did you want to add anything really quickly? I have appreciated everybody's comments so much.
I think the part that we miss the most is their individuality. Like my kids are different at school, and they have their own routines and their own behaviors attached to what they're supposed to do in school. And I do myself different ways when they're in school. I have my time to PTA. I have my time having a toddler. I was thinking, oh, great, the age difference is going to be great because I have my own unique time with a baby and I get to enjoy that. So we didn't get that this year, but we managed to enjoy each other's company for the most part. We managed to say, hey, it's time to get out. You need to go do PE outside and enjoy the fresh air too. So, but I do miss having that time for my PTA mom, my mom only time. And I know they enjoy their time at school. So individual time was something was really missed because we were together for a long time. Yeah. Now that we have hybrid, it's a little bit better. We have a 3-hour gap in between. So they miss me and they come back home with a smile on their face.
I think that's a great way to end, because I think it is a good reminder that we all need people and different people outside of our family. And I think everybody in the pandemic has figured that out. So thank you all for taking the time to join with us tonight. I know as families, we have busy schedules, and we appreciate the thoughts that you shared with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rebecca, for helping moderate this so important, critical community panel. I was just communicating with Dr. Holmes Sutton, saying it's so nice to be able to set aside assumptions and hear from people's perspectives and their voice straight from them, because we do fill in the blanks with our own perceptions, and sometimes we lead ourselves down the wrong path, and that's why this is so critical. Thank you, parents, caregivers, for taking your time out and sharing a part of yourselves. This was very personal to get on and answer some of these questions, and we are so indebted. This is such valuable information we're going to take and combine from the student perspective to be able to help guide and make better decisions as we continue moving forward in our different school settings. So thank you again to our partners, Nevada PTA, Nevada Succeeds, Opportunity 180. I know Tamara Hedson, a member of the Nevada State Board of Education, was on earlier, joined the panel audience as well. So we just wanted to acknowledge and honor everyone who took time out tonight to be able to listen and share in your vast knowledge about what has this COVID experience been like for you. So thank you again. We appreciate you and honor you, and everyone have a great night.
Thank you all. It was great to spend the night with you.
Thank you.